Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Survivor Calgary recap podcast for episode 5. Hold on the reins. Krish, Taylor, any thoughts immediately on that episode we just watched?
Jared is one lucky boy.
And we do have Jared joining us tonight to answer some questions. Unfortunately, Saphir couldn't make it to sort of talk about his last stand here.
No.
We'll start off sort of chronologically here with the reaction from this Yi tribe on how they were sort of handling the aftermath of this Charlotte blindside. Particularly, I think the interesting three people to talk about here are Jared, Saphir, and Emily, all sort of taking different approaches to how they were going to handle this. Jared sort of doubling down on his connection with Ben and Joel, and still telling Saphir, like, hey, I don't have too hard, like, I sort of explaining his situation. Emily still trying to keep this connection open, and then Saphir just trying to find any crack. What do you guys think of the sort of reactions from these players?
I mean, I feel like Saphir, after the last tribal council, did all of the damage control that he really could. Like, you see him, right? Like, they're walking back from tribal council, and he's trying to sort of like douse the flames that he's seeing, like, and yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what else he really could have done.
Taylor?
Yeah, he handled it as well as he could have, because a lot of people will kind of panic and scramble after that, but he definitely kept it cool, and then even like post-challenge just remained keeping it cool and handled everything really well.
What do you think of the difference between Jared and Emily's approach to how to handle the fallout?
I don't know. Skip me right now.
Fair enough. Over on the... Oh, unless you want to say something, Krish?
No, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Over on the Ha tribe, we have them celebrating hubris. Was Mitch's tagline here. What do you think of the strategy of celebrating hubris while you're still in the pre-merge part of the game?
I mean, it's working so far. So,
do you think it has long-term legs?
I want to say that the hubris is gonna like paint a target on them, but I mean, Emily's still sticking around, so we'll see what happens.
Fair enough. Going into the challenge, they may never lose again. We have a relay where they do win. We can talk about the lasso or the puzzle all we want, but really this, I do think, came down to the horseshoe throwing. Trent got an early horseshoe in, and Saphir took quite a bit longer. How do you think it was as a decision for Saphir to volunteer? Is an aspect of you're sort of going for these high risk, high reward plays of I'm going to put my own fate in my own hands here, try and get probably the thing that people aren't really volunteering for in my own hands and go for it?
I mean, I feel like Saphir knew that he was on the out, so this was his final shot at trying to keep himself safe until merge. Putting that like responsibility on yourself, either like you win or you do well enough that then you can kind of use that as leverage. Unfortunately, neither of those things really came to pass for Saphir. But at the same time, like, I feel like throwing horseshoes, if you haven't done it before, is not an easy task.
No.
Yeah. Do you think there's a world where Saphir is able to get out of it if he didn't have that extra weight around his ankles of having that issue in the challenge?
I mean, I was almost convinced he was gonna make his way out of this episode, just because Jared has Joel's bounty, so I wasn't sure if Jared would flip back and end up working with Saphir and maybe pulling Emily in to vote together, but
Jared got a bounty anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't exactly.
I was like, are you kidding me right now?
After the challenge, we see two things. We're going to go into the edge challenge first. Build the tallest thing. What did you think of our edge players, our varmints creations on the edge here?
Very creative. That's for sure.
Do you agree with the placements from Neil?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if Baron didn't have a bunch of offshoots on his cross, he might have had a chance, but it seemed like there was just too much going on.
The reveal that he could remove the spokes the whole time and just didn't was incredible to me. And then the other thing coming out of the challenge was Trent finds a token and tells the ugly four of this hot tribe that he did. What do you think of him being so public about it?
He's keeping his trust with his original tribe, so it's good and bad. Like, obviously, it's always good to keep those things to yourself and take them out when you need them, but he's also just building up that social game a bit with, I guess, oversharing a bit, if you want to call it that. But I don't see it as a bad move.
We did see in previous episodes that people were a little bit suspicious of him finding the gold token instead of Ali there. So maybe it points a little bit towards people trusting him a bit more around being actually truthful around these tokens as well.
True.
Yeah, I think that might be the way it goes, but also we see that Chelsea doesn't really trust him. So him giving this information it's really easy for us to see it on TV with the confessionals like back to back saying like, oh, I don't trust Trent. And then Trent going and telling everyone he has a bounty coin. But like sitting like on the couch, it's a little bit like easier to see like maybe he should have kept that a little bit closer to his chest.
Yeah, and he did mention that Mitch saw him pull it. So at that point, you sort of do need to tell at least Mitch.
Yeah.
But the other thing happening on the Hot Tribe is it seems like Ali and Chelsea are becoming a real powerful duo.
Yeah.
Maybe even more so than Chelsea and Maeve here. What do you think of this sort of sprouting on this tribe that hasn't gone to tribal yet?
They seem to be, super solid. Like, you're not seeing any cracks in that. I'm interested to see, once they merge, to see if Chelsea, Maeve, Ali, and Emily kind of form a four after they all get reunited.
Yeah, there's also the aspect of Ali still having some allegiance to Joel and Ben here. If we do see a merge coming up in the next episode. We also see Alora still is sort of on the outs here. Still feeling very much alone, looking for any opportunity to sort of get out of this. Do you think she's seeing her situation accurately with how frustrated Chelsea seems to be with Trent? And do you think she has a good shot of maybe making it out of this situation?
I think now that the merge is probably on its way, and both Charla and Sophia are out, I think Alora might find it a little bit easier to sort of add on to some of the other alliances we see forming, just because now she'll be separated or like feel more distance from Jared, or at least can play it off as that, to try and make some relationships.
Yeah, makes sense. Over on where we actually saw the tribal council happen, we immediately see that Jared immediately goes to, I believe, both Joel and Ben and says, hey, we have a 3 here. Even if there's a shot in the dark hit, I'm not particularly worried. We have the numbers. We control the vote. He's sort of doubling down on this group. What I find interesting here is that the the trio seems to be Jared, Joel, and Ben, and not Joel, Ben, and Emily, despite Emily, Joel, and Ben being the first to create this vote against Charla. How do you think that that sort of happened?
I don't know, honestly. I thought Emily was pretty in there with Joel and Ben. But I do know that Jared and Joel know each other outside of the game, so maybe that's just pulling it in a little bit. Maybe they just have that little bit of trust that they didn't even realize they had in the game until they were forced to work together.
And Emily's whole original tribe is still in the game. So,
too.
like, maybe just like a subconscious of, like, once we merge.
Jared doesn't have anywhere else to go but us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true. He is still keeping some secrets from them, though, which is notably his bounties on Trent and Joel himself. And sort of immediately after this conversation, we see Ben and Joel tell Saphir early, "Hey, you got to play your shot in the dark, dude. It's gonna be a majority on you." And this leads Saphir to being like, "Okay, my one chance at getting this to work is trying to get Emily and Jared against this fairly solid duo of Ben and Joel." I think the interesting thing to talk about here is not necessarily the perspective of Saphir, because this is pretty much his only move available to him. But I do think it is interesting to talk about it from this perspective of Emily and Jared on what the better move is here to go for. Emily seems to think that probably keeping Saphir might be a better move and split up this Ben and Joel, especially after she finds out that Ben was lying to him, whereas Jared is seems to be on this trio here. What do you think about both of their perspectives?
Well, I think Jared was in a good spot because I feel like he could have gone either way, and it wouldn't have been horrible for his game, because if they do end up targeting the duo, he tries to push it on Joel, and he cashes in the bounty. Or the other way, which is voting Saphir out, and he's like, I'll just pull Saphir's bounty when I cash in my coin right before I vote.
Yeah, it's fair.
I think Jared was a little bit stuck having to vote with Ben and Joel this time, because if he flipped again, I think that his the trust factor would really be broken. At least this way, he's shown that he's made a move with Ben and Joel, and then he's willing to stick with them to try and
sort of with a purpose
continue, rather than just flipping every single vote, because then everyone will be a little uneasy working with him.
Yeah. Speaking of flipping every vote, though, what do we think about Emily's plan here of, okay, we need to target Ben or Joel?
I mean, I think it's founded in logic. Ben and Joel are they've been together since the beginning. They've voted together more or less every single time, and since this tribe swap, they've been the ones that have really orchestrated a lot of the moves. So they definitely have good social capital and are good at pulling people in, as we saw with Jared and Emily both.
Yeah, I think it is clear that they were both seeing exactly where they were with these two, right?
Yeah.
Jared saw that he was good with Ben and Joel, and Emily saw that she was probably the fourth person if they ever do go back to tribal. Can we talk about Jared's luck now? So to state how long this had been going on. During last episode, we saw Charla found this coin under the urn as well. That coin had been there since episode 1. Since episode 1, we had the coin under the urn. No one had found it up until Charla. Charla finds it and immediately goes out without playing it. And so we're like, okay, well, let's put it back, I guess. We go another full cycle around, and Jared finds it as the last person at the urn. And he's saying, oh, how obvious it was, even though he missed it the previous time he went. What do we think about him immediately pulling Saphir and getting this snake oil idol?
You can't make this stuff up.
Nah, he must have been talking to Evan before this season and got whatever tricks and tips he had.
Pre-season, Evan seemed to be the most popular person that people wanted to play with or play like, and so it seems like Jared ended up getting the luck rubbed off, at least for now. Speaking of, we are going to bring in Jared now to the stage. Hello, Jared.
Howdy.
Can you believe your luck?
No, not at the time, and still not. No. But I will say the previous one, I also voted last, so Charlotte would have already had that token.
You're right, but there was another tribal before that.
That's
he was
true.
on to.
Yes, I missed it then. I will admit to that.
How are you feeling after watching this last episode?
That was exciting. That was an exciting one. Watching back and getting that token was just like surreal to me, like seeing my face, because like in the moment it was just so much shock. It was like, but also it was an emotional episode because sending out Saphir there after the whole horseshoe challenge and everything, it just, it was really tough. It honestly gave us a good reason to vote him out, which kind of worked well with my mentality in the game at that point. But I mean, it was really emotional, it was sad, and it was tough to do. So then holding his
because
bounty,
it was so tough, it was a good decision to get rid of him.
Yeah, and then I pulled his bounty and I was like, okay, this is really good now. So it was kind of on cloud nine at that point. But it was just like, in the moment, it was a really tough tribal council.
I want to start off with a question about the last tribal you were actually at, which is the one from episode 4, which is what ended up being the full motivation to eliminate Charla instead of sticking with your bad tribe mates.
So going into that tribal, like seeing everything on paper, to me, it was like in my mind, we need to bring in Ben and Joel and vote out Emily here so we can take the uglies down a little bit, so that maybe hopefully we don't go to another tribal. We can stay 5 strong, and I don't know, maybe we go into merge after that and we can maybe make things happen. But I think the big thing that you touched on last week was with Saphir and Charla kind of moving in groups together the whole time. Like they had that conversation with Joel where they threw out my name but not really, and then we had the conversation with Emily where we kind of told her she was going home without saying anything, and then Saphir said, let's go, you should go talk with Ben and Joel over there. And then we went and had our chat in the woods, and kind of at that time Charlotte's like, I kind of don't really trust Joel, I think we should go for him. I hadn't talked to Joel at this point, but right directly after that conversation, Charla and Saphir kind of separated a little bit from me and I wanted to have a separate conversation. And at that moment I was like, what do you have to say that doesn't involve me right now? And watching it back on the clip, like they were talking about how throwing out my name wasn't real and like we need to work with Emily now. But to me, it was like I see them separate from me, and I was like, the vibes are off. Like they're talking about something. So, and then when Emily came to me and said, I'm voting with Ben and Joel, it was like, okay, they don't have Emily. So if I vote with Charla and Saphir here, like that's very big rock potential, and then I'm putting myself at risk. So at that moment, it was like, I don't want to take a shot at my tribe, but if their 3 are strong right now, I want to be with the numbers. And I already had really good chats with Ben and Joel and Emily too. So it was like, these people are playing. I think I could work with these people and play with them moving forward. So that was kind of my mentality in that sense.
It is definitely clear that out of the Yi and the Ha tribe, there is more average gamer on on the Yi tribe than the Ha tribe. At least they've been forced into playing it a little bit more. Taylor and Krish, do you have anything you want to Jared?
Yeah. Jared, this most recent tribal council, was there ever any discussion or thought of taking Emily out instead of Saphir, or was it pretty like clear cut that Saphir was going to be the target?
For me, like I really had good chats with Ben, and I knew that he was it seemed to me like he was a really good gamer, was really thinking about things. So I thought that I could work with him pretty well in this game. So I felt like just going with Saphir, since I already burned that bridge, it was kind of the right thing to do. One thing that I noticed from that episode was I didn't know that Ben had told Saphir that Emily would be kind of like the backup plan. And like Saphir went and brought that information to Emily, but I didn't really hear that information. So if I would have known that Ben was kind of throwing that around, it might have been a little bit more, but I was more on kind of damage control with Emily. Like, I think this is the right move. Like, you're safe with us, let's get to merge. Just take out Saphir, and then we can kind of take that on.
The focus was more around just executing the Saphir vote than any kind of actual alternative.
Yeah, for me, it was like, I just need to get to the next one, build some trust with these people that I'm now working with, and trying to make it work.
Taylor, do you have any questions for Jared here?
Yeah, my question's pretty similar, but I was wondering if were you considering trying to get Joel out and cashing in on your bounty at this tribal, or was that just not even a thought you were having?
At this tribal, it was like at the last one, it was a definite consideration. If we could have got the numbers, I would have liked to achieve that. But now that I kind of, placed my stake in the ground and was like, these are the people I'm working with now, I didn't think it was a good idea to try and, like you guys said earlier, flip again and try and collect a bounty just for personal success in a time where I think you really need numbers. So I felt like having numbers was more important in that scenario.
Was there any thought process into how Allura was going to react to two bad tribe members leaving the game on the other side?
So for me, no, because I felt like I had too much to think about in our own tribe. I mean, initially I was thinking about Allura over there, but like even like from the first tribe, she was the one that I was kind of the least connected with. So I kind of already felt like we were kind of on even ground, and she might have tried to target me if we went to another tribal, like in our previous tribe. So like, it was something that I was hoping to rekindle if we ever got to play together again. But at the same time, it was not something I was really thinking about at that time.
Taylor, Krish, anything else you want to ask earlier?
How do you do it?
Man, I don't know.
How do you find things?
You can't make this shit up, man.
You look for red tape, apparently.
Yeah.
The thing is, I wasn't really even looking early on. I was like so busy playing, and I was just kind of like, oh, there's a token. Like, I guess I should take that, right? Like, I don't know. It was just luck, honestly.
Anything else you want to say before we leave you out here, Jared?
No, honestly, okay, I'll say a couple things. I think watching the Edge has been really fun. I think just like I didn't get to see that when I was playing, so like watching that back now is awesome, and just watching like the other tribes like dynamics and seeing how things kind of shaped up there, and even the conversations in my tribe that I didn't see, just the context and getting to see it all is just really cool for me. So just appreciate all you guys are doing with the editing and everything. It's amazing work.
Thank you. And thank you again for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, we have a few things to discuss here. First of all, I'm going to get your players of the week now, and then we're going to talk about the future.
Okay.
Taylor, we'll start with you.
I got to give it to Jared. Jared and Emily. Those are my two finalists for today.
Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it's hard not to say Jared. He got the bounty at the last moment. He voted right, and it seems like Ben and Joel do want to work with him. Yeah, can't really say much more.
Okay, so there's a few things that we saw in the preview for next episode. The first is that Jared is showing somebody the snake oil idol. Who do you think that person is? And the second is we had an announcement of drop your buffs. What do we expect with a possible merge? We'll assume it's a merge for now.
Okay. So I thought I saw Joel he was talking to, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think it was shown on camera in the preview who it was.
Okay. I don't know then.
Okay.
I'll say Joel. Why not?
I'll guess Allura to try and rebuild that trust from voting to his original tribe vote.
Okay, and then we have the merge. We have 10 players, all varying dynamics. I'm going to try and go through people or like try and touch on everybody at least once here before we go into it. How do we feel about Ali's positioning going into the merge?
I think it's really strong. I think it seems like the original Ugly tribe will want to work with her, and then she also is tight with Ben and Joel.
Yeah, she seems to be in one of the best positions, I think, just with how strong her and Chelsea are, and then Chelsea can kind of help her be closer with Maeve and Emily. And then, yeah, she still has Ben and Joel to fall back on, so...
Yeah, if there's anything that's working against her right now, it is probably that she's going to be pulled in too many directions.
Yes.
It looks like Ben and Joel might be on opposite sides of this ugly group. Maybe there can be something that forms there. But yeah. How do we feel about Laura?
She's been kind of sitting back, relaxing with this winning tribe for the last couple weeks. So maybe her just having time to kind of sit back and soak it all in and look at the dynamic of the four uglies. Four uglies, yeah, that are in her tribe. Maybe she's like able to kind of figure some things out that she wasn't told. So it could be a good thing, but it could also be a horrible thing, and she could just be like so out of touch.
Yeah,
I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Krish.
I was just going to say, I feel like she'll either be the odd one out and be the first boot for the merge, or she'll be able to integrate herself well enough in that middle where she's able to play off of it.
I think she's pretty clearly in like that wild card position where she doesn't have a whole lot of connections, and so either she's going to be an easy vote, or people are going to be trying to bring her in as a number.
Yeah.
Then we have. I'm gonna put these two together. Ben and Joel are in a very similar spot going into the merge, in terms of both of their relationships and how many tribals they've been to, etc. How are you feeling about both of their spots?
I feel like they're both. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Taylor.
I was gonna say they seem to be in an all right position. I feel like the uglies are gonna have a fairly big target on their backs once they do merge with the numbers they have. So I could see it being like everyone versus them.
Yeah, like
So,
currently
like,
there
maybe
will be 5 original uglies versus the rest of the game right now.
Exactly. So I could see everyone kind of putting everything to the side to at least try to start breaking that up, or trying to at least.
Yeah. On the other side, all the ugly need is one person to jump on, and they've got a majority. Speaking of the uglies, I think we have the two most emblematic of ugly strong to the end is currently Mitch and Trent. Do we think that they're in much of a different position, or do we think they're fairly similar as well here?
I think they're in a little more trouble than, let's say, like Chelsea, Emily, and Maeve, just based on what we've seen, because it seems like Chelsea, Emily, and Maeve are wanting to work together a little bit more than Trent and Mitch. And we've heard some dissent, especially about Trent oversharing some information. So I feel like if the Ugly Tribe is going to cannibalize one of their own, I think it would be Trent.
Taylor, do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. They just lack those outside relationships, as far as I can see.
Yeah. And they are sort of waving the banner the loudest.
Yeah. And they're just like they're big physical threats too, so like they're easy targets.
How do we feel about some of the more undercover players on this original Ugly Tribe, like Chelsea, Emily, Maeve?
I think they're in a really good spot. The one thing is they haven't been to tribal together, so they haven't been able to test their like trust as much as some other people, and especially like Maeve's played before, so they've been to tribal before, but this will be the first time that Chelsea's going to tribal, so we'll see if any panic alarm bells ring and if there's any like misplays or anything like that.
Yeah, Taylor, any thoughts on these three?
I agree with that, honestly. It just seems like it'll be easy for them to kind of push the target onto Mitch or Trent if everyone does want to target the Ugly Tribe. So they can kind of use Allie as their gateway into that other side of things.
Yeah, and then finally we have our player of this week, Jared. His connections are pretty solidly Joel and Ben with some Emily and some Alora, possibly, if he can mend that relationship. How do we feel about his position going into this merge? Theoretical.
He has the snake oil idol and another bounty on Joel's head. So really, while his position on paper might not be the best because he was the one that sort of jumped over to help Ben and Joel, I feel like with his like the snake oil idol, and then just he's proven that he's pretty smart and thinks on his feet when push comes to shove. So I think he'll make it pretty far.
Yeah, it seems like he has enough ammunition to kind of roll with whatever he has to get through moving forward here.
Oh, well, thank you all for your thoughts. Anything else you want to say before we get ready for next week?
I'm just excited to see the ugly tribe actually go to tribal for once, honestly.
Yes, it better be a merge.
I can't say anything more.
Come on. I'm just kidding.
Anyway, thank you both for joining me today. Anyone confused? I didn't actually say this. I was filling in for Cole because he couldn't make it. You might not have noticed, but
Oh shoot, you're not Cole, my bad.
thanks everybody, and have a great day. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.